Let's check in with one of our favorite mayors. And, he's not the mayor of the biggest city, but I think one of the mayors with the biggest hearts here in our area. It's Aron Lorenz of the city of Sylvan Lake. I hope that didn't sound too cheesy, Mayor Lorenz. I don't know, just kind of came up. That's how I'm feeling today. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and I appreciate the compliment. And thank you to you guys and your team for the great work that you do.
Well, you're very kind. I always like to ask everybody when we see them on Zoom in their home where they're sitting, how's it going, and you've been in your home for almost 2 months now. So how are things in the Lorenz house?
Well, it's amazingly productive. My daughter came back from veterinarian school and has been working online, and we're able to handle most of the business that we need to handle online. I do deal with some essential customers that produce parts for the Department of Defense. And I've had to go out and help with some technical issues at some customers. So I have gone out and followed the precautions of safe distancing and wearing a mask and, getting used to the new challenges that we're all going to be facing as we go back to what is typically referred to as the new normal.
Well, that's interesting you mentioned that. I hope you don't mind if I ask you a question about that, and then we'll get an update on how things are going in Sylvan Lake. So, in your day job, if you will, you do work with manufacturers, if I am correct. So, have you had a chance to be in some of the newly opened manufacturing facilities around our area?
Yes, I've been to one actually a couple of days ago that was starting up some equipment, and they had done a lot of modifications. And like all things, when you put something in bed for a while, and when you get it out and start it back up, it doesn't always go so quickly. So I did get to see their startups. They're starting up one shift, 5 or 6 days a week. They used to run 3 shifts. So right now they're running basically planning on starting out running at a third capacity. And what we're going to see is where this goes after automotive, picks up and starts up. And obviously all of us who are in the manufacturing side of the business are hoping everybody runs out and buys a new car with the money that they got from the stimulus package so that, we keep our manufacturing people at work and, making money on the front lines to
Well, I
stimulate our
hope so
economy.
too, and whether you like or dislike the President of the United States, it is kind of cool that he's going to be here on Thursday and in one of the Ford plants where we were able to pivot. I mean, it's right here in our hometown in Metro Detroit. We have folks that have been working really hard, UAW workers working really hard, and able to make the vents that we needed to get cranked out really quick, and we're going to be celebrating that and that on Thursday when the president comes and just manufacturing ramping back up. And I don't know, Mayor Lorenz, whether you saw the reports on TV, but I was really impressed yesterday with what I saw at the automotive plants as they were opening up, the checkpoints they had set up, the technology. I mean, in my office, I've got the head scanner like we all have, but they had some really amazing technology they were showing on TV where people could walk in front of a thermal imaging camera and it could take a look at their temperature. And so it's really amazing the way people have shifted and adjusted. And I think we can all be proud of that as we try to keep things under control here in this new era.
Yep, it's going to be interesting. And, like we've always done in the past, we will adapt and we will embrace the new technology and the new normal, and we will advance through it.
How are things going in Sylvan Lake? Let's get I appreciate you engaging me in a little conversation on manufacturing as we sidebar, but how are things going in Sylvan Lake, Mayor Lorenz?
Things are going great here in Sylvan Lake. Unfortunately, the weather for the last couple of weeks hasn't been all that great, but we did have a nice weekend a couple of weeks ago. And, I was down at the beach and checked out how we're doing at the beach. And it was nice to see that people were practicing social distancing, and, being safe around each other. And, there's a lot more people walking around the neighborhood and, just getting out and about. So this is a really good to see the people enjoying the great outdoors. Yesterday I was on a webinar with the Treasury Department of Michigan talking about revenue sharing in the state and how the coronavirus shutdown might be affecting the budgets going forward. There's a lot of speculation and a lot of models, and we'll see who's right in the end about where we end up as far as revenue sharing with the state of Michigan going forward.
So,
That's
Mayor,
our biggest concern.
Mayor, let's talk a little bit about that from a money standpoint for our communities. So, and we just talked to Ken Gutman at Walled Lake Schools. They're expecting a really big reduction in the amount of money the schools are going to get. Municipalities, aren't they primarily funded with property tax dollars? So with that, how does a reduction in state revenue impact what local municipalities get?
Well, there's a few areas that we're getting money from the state from. There's the state's revenue sharing to the cities, and then there's local and there's the local road funds that we get from the state. And these are, for a city of our size, every dollar is significant, and you hate to see any of these dollars disappear, even if it's 10%. So, we're basing our budget on what was projected, currently, and we'll see what happens going forward, and we will adjust as necessary.
All right, well, good luck. It isn't going to be easy. Everyone's got a much smaller pot of money to work with. Any other significant projects coming up in the community that over the next year or two that you think might be affected by all of this, or are things pretty much, at least as they stand now, continuing to progress as expected?
Well, we have the vacant Whitfield School property that is currently being evaluated for possible rezoning to C2, which is commercial. And part of the idea was that the developer wanted to have it rezoned so that they could put office space in there. And, as we've all experienced now, a lot of people who have been working in offices haven't been working in their offices for the last 8 weeks. And this was a trend that had started long before this, where people were working remotely. And I think, what's going to be interesting going forward is how the new normal affects real estate, because are all the people that were working out of the office going to go back to the office, or are these companies going to right size, so to speak, and say, okay, we don't need to have 100% of our people in the office. We can have 50% of the people working remotely, which means all the office space that was filled might become vacant. So this is going to be interesting to see how this affects, development going forward. Are we going to see office buildings built at the rate that we were seeing them? And what happens to reutilize these spaces that might be open?
Yeah, it's so great that you mentioned. I appreciate you bringing that up, Mayor Lorenz, because I was thinking about the same exact thing the other day. We all want to see the economy come back in that V, right? It went down. We want it to come right back up. But you start thinking about this new normal, people working at home exactly the way you said. And then what are we going to do with all those office buildings? Can they convert? Because what we're going to have on the upside, I think we're going to have a real need for a lot more residential, because people are going to be working at home. They're going to want a little bit more space. I wonder if some really creative entrepreneur is going to come up with a way to convert some of these big suburban office buildings into residential units. I don't know if it could even be done with zoning, but, someone's going to figure that one out. That'll be a really good challenge.
Sure. What was really positive about the Treasury Department's presentation yesterday was the projections for growth in 2021 and 2022, where they were talking getting back to normal as far as our growth in GDP. So it was a rather positive message that was put out to us.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us. Good to talk to you. On one other note, and I don't know what's happening in every community around our Oakland County service area, but I do know that Sylvan Lake will not be having a Memorial Day parade this weekend, and neither will your neighbor. And Civic Center TV has broadcast these parades in the past, so if you don't mind, Mayor Lorenz, my good friend Erica Jones, sitting right next to me in the studio, is going to take tapes of your parades in the last couple of years. And last year, I was happy to be there in person myself in Sylvan Lake. So we're going to take those parades and and some other parades, and we're going to put them all together, and we're going to broadcast them on Civic Center TV on Memorial Day. Will that be okay?
Oh, I greatly appreciate that. And as a matter of fact, we are putting some clips on the Sylvan Lake website. And I was indeed going to call you later on today or send you a message and ask you if you would be so kind to replay some of the past Memorial Day parades to honor our fallen heroes who have brought us the freedom that we so greatly enjoy here in the United States.
Well, we're right. Great minds think alike, if I can humbly say that. So we're working on that. And Erica, y'all ready to put all that together for us in the next couple of days? And then you're going to host that on Civic Center TV, right?
Definitely.
All right, I got to get your mic on. She said yes?
Yes, definitely.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
All right, Mayor, so we're in good hands. So Erica will put all that together. And, folks, we invite you to tune in on Memorial Day and certainly honor those. It's going to be kind of tough because, our coverage aside, it's really wonderful to Memorial Day gather and hear from and see those that have served our country. We're not really going to be able to do that the way we have, so we'll do the best we can to make it happen virtually.
Great.
All right, Mayor, thank you very much. I appreciate your time today, and we will be talking very soon. Good to have you with us.
I hope so. Have a great day. Thank you to you and your team.